To get your wheel off, you're going to need to get these retainer pins out of the top and bottom. I used the new hardware. Unfortunately, the sacrificial retainer pin is now bent, so I'm just going to use that to hammer out the last one here. So with the retainer pin almost all the way out, just keep in mind, remember how these clips are in. You'll pop them out, and then this retainer clip thing here also, remember how this goes. It really just hangs on here and is kept in place by the retainer pin. And then this little V-shaped clip goes into one into the hole in here and one into the hole in here, and you can really just, if I can get this correctly, just pinch it like this and it'll come out. So I already got these out. I needed two hands, just basically pinched and then wobbled them back and forth while pulling outwards, and they come out, both sides. Next, you got to transfer this sensor, which I assume is a brake wear sensor, and carefully, it slides right out in this direction, right? I pushed it from the inside here, and this is a new bracket, or the new retainer as well. So I just used a little flathead and pushed it outwards carefully. And then this little metal retainer clip also will fall off. You can just put it back in. It just slides out. And then don't forget to put on these new hardware retainers. Damn, this is like the hardest shit ever. Basically, you go in on the top, roll it in, and then it'll kind of rest. And then for this bottom part, you pull it outwards and down. Bam. I did that with one hand. As far as the fronts go, they were not as simple as the rears. You had to take out these two 19mm screws. They're heavily on, like super torqued on there. You're gonna need I believe a 17mm socket to get these out. And once you get them out, you can see the brake pad under there. You can maybe just hammer it a little bit and it'll come loose. These have a lot of brake dust. These are the high performance ones, obviously. That's why we're changing them. So here we got the old ones side by side with the new ones going in. Tread is not so different. These aren't changed due to wear, they're changed due to preference. There's no sensors on these. I found that only one of the rear ones had them, so that's weird. Alright, sorry, so I had to cut to actually do the work. But after compressing the 6 pistons inside, it's really complicated, because once you push one side in, the other side comes out, and vice versa. But eventually you will fit the pads in there. Another thing I did to help is the rotor wobbling didn't help me at all. Honestly, really annoying. So just put one of the lug nuts back on there, and that way you don't have to worry about it falling on your foot or damaging itself. But yeah, time to do the other side. Another pro tip to get access to these 17mm bolts back here is to go ahead and turn the wheel inwards to allow you more access to it, and make sure you tighten them down tight, because they are difficult, or they're a very vital integral part of your braking system, is to have your caliper not fly off. So okay, so I'm running out of light here, but it appears that this one has a sensor as well. I think it's the passenger sides that have the sensor, but basically make sure you undo this little clip that goes on top of it, like so, and then this will slide right out. Here's a clip by itself, and it goes over it on top of the brake. This goes first, and then this little metal retainer clips on top of it. Alright, so the brakes have been changed. It's dark out already. I just got done bedding them in. When you bed them, the bedding process is pretty simple. Get up to 45 miles per hour, then moderately apply pressure to the brakes slowly until you come to just before stopping. So you don't want to stop, and you want to do that about 6 to 8 times, and then you want to go up a little higher and go to 60 miles per hour, and then apply the brake with firm pressure, hard pressure, almost like an emergency stop. And you want to do that twice or one more time, whatever you like. It doesn't really matter as long as you transfer the material. So I like to do it with my windows down. With the windows down, you start smelling the brake material. So as that's a good indication that you're braking hard enough and that you're actually doing the bedding process. So yeah, that's done. No warning lights, no issues. My wheels are intact. I came back alive. I stopped, obviously. Some notes. In the video, I said 17 millimeters to get the caliper off the wheel assembly. It's not 17. I believe it's 19. But I'll go back and revise. And another note, on the front sensor, the passenger side, I believe it's the passenger side that you'll see that sensor. I think it's a brake wear sensor. I did break that a little bit. There hasn't been any issues on the dashboard cluster, but maybe I'll find out in 50,000 miles. But that's a problem for future me. So we'll cross that bridge as it comes. But that is because the brakes that I got were a little, probably not the best. Like, they're not Toms. They're not no Japanese specifically made for the LC. Those brands I'm sure would be a lot better in terms of fitment. But the slide, the opening for the sensor to slide into was not perfectly done for the OEM sensor on the car to fit into it. If I had taken my time, I probably could have, gotten a file and filed it down so that it actually entered in. But ultimately, it did break a little bit. But it was still retained by that metal, that kind of copper bronze clip. That little clip will hold it in place. So make sure you get that if you do break it yourself. I don't want to even know the price of that. I know it's probably expensive. Obviously, we're doing our own work because we don't want to spend money unnecessarily. The brake pads also came under $200. The install is just some time and effort, some grime also. So that should save you a good amount of cash. I mean, if you want to go for the Japanese brands, like, the Toms brake pads, or there's some other cool ones, those will run you about close to $1,000 for brake pads, which is pretty high. It's pretty up there. But I mean, you got to pay to play. You're in an LC, so you are paying top dollar. Whether it's worth it or not, that's up to you. To me, I decided to go for some PowerStop brand brakes, and I've already ran those on my other Lexus, my IS 200, and they haven't failed me. I've run those for 20,000 miles, and they're still good. Obviously, there's quality control issues here and there, and some people might have issues. Some people might have a mushy pedal, because who knows? It happens. It can happen to most manufacturers. Some just do it less than others. Ultimately, I did land on those, and they're installed, and I'll see how they perform for me. And if they do not perform up to my standard, then I know for the future to not cheap out on something like that for this car. But we'll find out later on, right? So yeah, that's it. I did not find any videos on how to do this. But brake installs are pretty much the same across all manufacturers, unless you're like super high exotic, which luckily the LC is not some foreign, engineering feat. It's a great car, don't get me wrong, but over complexity is not always good, right? I'm an engineer myself. I love writing simple code, software engineer, so I like writing simple code, and I like mechanical engineering that's simple also. So it's well built. That's why I just buy Japanese. Japanese people, or Japanese car manufacturers, are known to not reinvent the wheel. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I agree. Anyways, so I assume that not a lot of LC owners work on their cars, so that's why there was no videos. I saw a lot of RCF videos, and I tried to see if it was the same, but the caliper is not the same. it's just not the same. They didn't, for the front calipers at least, it was not the same at all. They didn't have the retaining pins that you could just, you know, pop open and you can have access to the pads. No, that wasn't like that. I had to take off the two big bolts that held the what the hell, the caliper to the assembly. That was a pain in the ass, so I suggest you get an impact gun or something similar, or there's no leverage you can get in that wheel well. So get a nice impact gun. I will link the tools that I used in the description if I decide to upload this video. And yeah, good luck. I hope you save some money.